Welcome to this Explainer, Rookie. I'm here to walk you through your absolutely vital role as a continuous improvement moderator, otherwise known as an evaluator, for the 2026 Beacon exercise. As an experienced emergency trainer, I'm going to mentor you through exactly what you need to know before your boots hit the ground on April 30th. You're stepping into a massive, functional communication systems exercise, and the emergency management community is really counting on your objective eyes. Okay, let's take a quick look at our roadmap for today. We'll be covering the Beacon disaster scenario, your specific role as an evaluator, field observation techniques, the SMART evaluation toolkit, and finally, how to facilitate the hot wash. Let's dive right in.
Section 1, the Beacon disaster scenario, and really, understanding the stakes of what we're doing here. Picture this. It's exactly 0634 hours Pacific Daylight Time. Suddenly, the USGS issues a shake alert. We're talking about a massive 8.8 magnitude earthquake just tearing along the San Andreas Fault, right? This isn't just some minor tremor. This scenario is literally a worst-case baseline for our state's infrastructure.
Listen up, because here's the stark reality you'll be walking into. Commercial communications, completely blacked out. Cell phones, texting, the internet, they are effectively gone, wiped out by widespread power outages and catastrophic coastal damage. The players are going to have to coordinate resource requests and build a common operating picture using only alternative communication systems. And just like a real disaster, there are absolutely no do-overs. They have to use exactly what they realistically have access to in that moment.
All right, moving on to Section 2, your role as evaluator, also known as the continuous improvement moderator. So the most crucial point here is understanding this hard line between a player and yourself. The players, they're the ones reacting to the crisis. They use established procedures and actively try to solve the problems thrown at them. But you are a silent observer and an active documenter. You do not participate in the response. It's a tough habit to break, I know, but your job is simply to observe, help plan potential improvements, and later on, facilitate discussions. In fact, your primary constraint is beautifully simple. You will not engage with any participants during the exercise. That's the golden rule, Rookie, no exceptions. You absolutely cannot help them fix their radios, you can't answer their scenario questions, and you definitely cannot inject your own opinions. Doing any of that basically contaminates the exercise play. If they fail, well, you just take notes on that failure. It's that simple.
So let's look at how this all builds throughout the day. You're going to want to keep a close eye on your watch because tracking chronological tasks across these specific operational modules is a core part of your duty. You'll kick things off with the local briefing at 0900. Then, by 1000, the exercise officially begins with local impact assessments. Come noon, players shift gears to requesting mutual aid, and by 1400, they're managing resource status updates. Finally, at 1600 sharp, the exercise halts completely for the hot wash.
Which brings us to Section 3, field observation techniques, or what to do when your boots hit the ground. Now, trust me on this one, you cannot rely on your memory during a chaotic simulation. It's just a blur. So make sure you bring these specific tools to objectively document the response. A good old-fashioned notebook and pen are absolutely mandatory. A reliable clock or watch is critical for documenting those chronological tasks we just talked about. Go ahead and bring your smartphone to take photos, but, remember to get permission first. And if you happen to have one, a radio to monitor traffic is a really fantastic, though optional asset to have on hand. At the end of the day, your eyes and ears are our absolute most valuable assets. You need to really use your senses to be an active listener and observer. Listen closely to the radio traffic, watch exactly how these partners attempt to build a common operating picture in the dark, and note if they are actually successfully testing their communication systems. You'll be documenting via both subjective and objective methods. What that means is you're capturing hard facts, like message delivery times, right alongside your own professional assessments of their coordination. Okay, on to Section 4, the SMART evaluation toolkit, and documenting the truth. Take a look at how the formal exercise evaluation guide actually structures your notes directly around the core exercise objectives. As a registered evaluator, you're going to use this formal guide to systematically assess capabilities, things like interoperable communications. It's a great tool because it forces you to neatly categorize whether critical tasks were performed, and ultimately, if the overarching objectives were actually met. Now, when you're out there identifying areas for improvement, I want you to always apply this 5-step SMART framework. It ensures your feedback is highly practical. Please don't just write "communications were bad." That doesn't help anyone. Instead, rate specific details about what failed. Make it measurable. Ask yourself if the fix is actually achievable and relevant to their future performance. And finally, ensure the improvement is time-bound so we can actually hold agencies accountable for fixing it before the next real-world disaster strikes. And always remember this great quote straight from the situation manual. Controllers and evaluators can only assess what they see and hear. You aren't a mind reader, right? If players perform tasks unexpectedly because of a lack of plans or training, just note exactly what happened and what you physically observed. We really want players to verbalize their thought processes out loud, but if they don't, document the deficiency exactly as you see it. That way, it gets accurately captured in the final after-action report. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, facilitating the hot wash, dealing with the aftermath.
So at 16 sharp, the exercise stops abruptly. Now it's time for the hot wash, which is simply a post-exercise debriefing. Your main goal here is to guide these totally exhausted players through a structured discussion. You have to act strictly as a neutral facilitator, not a critic. You're there to help them identify their own best practices and areas needing improvement, but again, you must avoid injecting your own opinions to prevent evaluator contamination. You just gotta let the players do the talking. To keep this running smoothly, you're going to start by prompting them with a basic guiding question. What happened? Ask them to describe their observed behaviors or outcomes. You really need to establish a shared, objective baseline of the day's simulated events. Basically, get everyone in the room to agree on exactly who did what, when, and where, before you move into any critiques.
Next up, ask them, well, what was supposed to happen? Have them contrast their actual actions with their agency's established emergency plans. I gotta tell you, this is where the magic happens. By forcing them to compare their on-the-fly performance to their written protocol, they'll organically pinpoint any specific gaps, unclear steps, or totally missing elements in their standard operating procedures. Finally, ask them the big ones: what went well and what needs improvement. Push them to be incredibly specific about their successes, so those awesome actions can be replicated in future real-world events. And when discussing what needs improvement, lean heavily on that SMART framework we talked about earlier. It really helps to clearly and realistically define those shortcomings. Okay, before you even think about packing up and heading home, ensure you capture all of this dialogue on your official forms. Collect every single participant feedback sheet. Ensure problem-solving issues were resolved and action items were properly captured, because your paperwork, these very hot wash discussion notes, is the absolute foundation of the official after-action review. Without your accurate notes, the whole exercise was basically just an expensive drill. But with them, it's a stepping stone to real, lasting resilience.
So the emergency management community is really counting on your objective eyes, rookie. The Beacon exercise isn't just a game. It is a critical stress test for our state's communications infrastructure. So, knowing your role, your boundaries, and your tools, are you prepared to document the hard truths when the grid finally goes down?